Hello, this is going to be a review of some liquid and cream foundations that I own. I recently did a video about powder mineral foundations, and so this is kind of the liquid version of that video. And a couple of these are BB creams. These are definitely not all of the ones that I've tried. I've tried so many different ones, and I probably mentioned, several of the older ones in videos that I've tried, but these are ones that I happen to currently own. So that's the ones that I'm going to review for you. So I thought that I would start with my favorite one, which is from Korres, and it's their Anti-Aging Foundation with Quercetin and oak. And that's what I have on today, and I absolutely love this foundation because I feel like I get really good lasting power out of it. And how I like to wear it is I put it on with a damp beauty blender type sponge, and that gives me kind of no more than medium coverage, that's for sure. And then I set it with a powder, usually my conservatory pressed powder, and that adds to the coverage because that's not a setting powder, it's a mineral foundation. So that's what I have on today, and that's how I get, coverage that I'm happy with. And I really like the lasting power. I like the finish that it has. I do live in kind of like a hot, humid climate, and so if I want this to last even longer, I will put primer under it. The primer I've been using lately is this one from Hourglass. It's their Veil Mineral Primer, and I really like this so far, and I like that it has an SPF in it. I also think this foundation is good for dry skin. It's not too moisturizing or greasy, so if you have acne prone skin like I do, there's not much to worry about in that department. But also if you have dry skin, you don't have to worry about this being, too oil controlling or too matte and drying you out. So I just really like this. Another foundation, and this one I tried really recently, it's from the All Natural Face. It's their vegan foundation / concealer. And the color I have is light beige pale. This is probably too pale for me to use all over my face, but I have used it more as a concealer. I've used it underneath my eyes. That's where I tend to use it the most if I'm using it. But I've also used it on areas of my face where I have discoloration just to test it out. Not necessarily all over my face, but I've used it like here, around my mouth, because I tend to have some hyperpigmentation there. And I think this would be good if you have dry skin because this isn't very oil absorbing. It's actually like a very creamy, balmy type of product, and it's solid as well. So it's got a decent amount of oils and waxes in here. So I would say if you're breakout prone, just test it on a small area first. I'm totally fine using it underneath my eyes, but when I used it on my face, I did break out a little bit. I mean, I don't want to say 100% it was due to this product because you never know, but I do tend to break out from jojoba oil, which this has, so I just haven't used it on my face anymore for that reason, but I have used it underneath my eyes, and as long as I set it with a powder, it will last, for several hours underneath my eyes, which is pretty good for an all natural product. This is the most natural one out of all of these because this doesn't even have any preservatives in it. It's just oils and waxes and pigments. So if you're looking for something, super duper natural and you're willing to sacrifice in things like lasting power, then, this is a good product for that. And you can build this up to pretty decent coverage as well. Next is this BB cream from Iredale, and it's called their Glow Time Full Coverage Mineral BB Cream, and it has SPF of 25, which I really like because the one downfall to this Korres foundation is that it does not have an SPF, but I like to wear my Davida sunscreen underneath, if I'm going to be outside for sun protection. But it's nice that this has SPF built into it already. This has really good coverage. It's heavy coverage, and because of that, if you don't do a great job blending it out, it can definitely look a little bit cakey and a little bit thick on your skin, but I like to again use one of those beauty blender type sponges, damp, and apply it that way. It does lessen the coverage. Normally this would be like heavy coverage if you apply it with a brush, but I prefer the more natural look where it looks less like I'm wearing makeup, and so I sacrifice some of the coverage and apply it with a sponge. It still gives you good coverage because this is a heavy coverage product. And the color I have, which is the lightest color, BB number 1, is probably better suited for me in the winter, and it's now starting to look a little bit too light on my skin. This is very creamy and moisturizing. This is good for dry skin. In kind of warmer weather like right now, this definitely does not last nearly as well on me as this, for example. Even if I set it with a powder, this is better for like cold, dry winter weather, I find personally. But of course it depends on your skin type. Next I have the Physicians Formula Youthful Wear Foundation. And this one to me is very, very similar to another one I used to have that I no longer own from Tarte. Which I forget what it's called, but it's probably Amazonian clay something or rather, that also comes in a tube, not the pump one, but you know, one like this. And I like the texture of this because it's almost like a mousse-like, very lightweight texture, and it blends out, and it's almost like a cream to powder kind of finish. That's what it feels like to me when I put it on. And it does have a pretty matte finish, I would say, which I prefer more of a glow, so I would probably put something over this to give myself more of a glow. And the coverage of this is medium, but it can be built up. The color that I have is fair. This does have an SPF of 15, and it does not have any chemical sunscreen. I try to pick products that are more or less natural. It's a little bit more difficult to do with liquid and cream foundations because they tend to need a preservative. But all of these I feel like are relatively safe ingredients, and I've looked into them and they don't have things like parabens and chemical sunscreens and such. I feel like if you have dry skin, this one is just okay because of the matte finish that it has, and it's also not very moisturizing or creamy. It's probably better for normal, you know, into combination, and to maybe oily skin. I'm not sure how much oil control this provides. It's not particularly drying, but it doesn't give you that nice kind of more moisturized look like some of the creamier foundations can give you if you have dry skin. I have this BB cream from Physicians Formula, and unfortunately I can't wear this one too often because it's a very dark color. It makes me look kind of orange, and I don't really have much color to my skin yet. Maybe the end of the summer I will try wearing this again. But it does have an SPF of 30, which is nice. You have to shake it up really well because it does separate. It's good for dry skin because it's very creamy and moisturizing. And because of that, I'm not sure how it would be for oily skin. I feel like this probably doesn't have very much, if at all, oil control in it. However, I do find this, you know, to feel nice on my skin. It gives pretty decent coverage compared to, you know, all the BB creams on the market out there that are essentially tinted moisturizers. This is more of like a medium coverage foundation type product. But because it is very moisturizing, if you have trouble with products lasting on your face, especially if, you know, you have more of like combination or oily type skin, I would definitely recommend wearing a primer with this and or setting it with a powder. Next I have this little sample of the Boscia BB Cream, and I personally really hate this product because A, it is absolutely orange looking on me, and of course that's not its fault. It's just, you know, it only comes in one color and it is what it is, but it also has this pretty large silver shimmer in it, which I personally do not like on my face. And it doesn't give very good coverage. So it's essentially this like orange shimmery tinted moisturizer that I personally did not enjoy. And last I have this foundation from Kat Von D, and if you've seen, you know, my video, I like to mix this with their concealer, and I actually have that in a separate little container, my little mixture. And I like to use that as concealer, as like underneath my eyes and stuff. But as foundation, this is insane coverage, and because of that, it can look a little bit natural. It can look a little bit cakey, like you're wearing makeup, And so I find the best way to wear it, if you want it to look kind of more natural, is to apply it with a damp sponge, you know, and really blend it out and do it in, you know, little areas at a time, because this dries relatively quickly, so you don't want to put it all over your face, because then by the time you get to blend in, you know, the last part of your face, you're gonna have a hard time. But if you like a lot of coverage, then this is great. If you are very, very fair, their lightest color, L42, is actually too fair for me even. So, you know, this is great if you have trouble finding foundations that are light enough for you. I think it's best for combination or oily skin. I found that on dry skin, it can be a little bit drying. It's definitely not moisturizing. I think it has some oil control in it for sure. And for some reason, my skin is not the biggest fan. I think because it's so heavy, it might clog my pores a little bit or something. So if I wear it for several days in a row, my skin doesn't do too well with it. So what I have to do is put on a primer, and as long as I wear a good silicone-based primer, it forms, you know, that layer in between my skin and this foundation, and then I don't break out. But I can't wear this without a primer, because then I do break out. So it's kind of, you know, it's okay, but I prefer to use this mixed with my concealer as a concealer. So that is it. Those are all of the liquid/cream foundations that I happen to own at the time. There's definitely been a lot more that I've tried over the years. I've tried a lot of different BB creams. I've tried some, you know, not so natural products, and I do have some videos. I definitely have a video on BB creams, I know that. So, and some of these I actually have separate videos and kind of a more detailed review as well if you're interested. So that is about it, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.